Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Dealership in Michigan got shut down, and a bunch of people sent me the story because they said, hey, Steve, it happened in your backyard, Michigan, and it involves a car dealership. You like talking about that. So Ryan, David, and Nathan, thank you for sending me the story. This is from the Detroit News, but widely reported. I saw it also in the Free Press, the paper I delivered as a young man, also on MLive. But here, Detroit News, Summer Ballantyne writes, Michigan shuts down LaFontaine General Motors dealership, alleging it sold used cars as new. Selling used cars as new. LaFontaine is a huge chain. They've got all kinds of stores all over the place. But this one is a GM dealership in St. Clair, Michigan. Michigan regulators recently shut down a LaFontaine Automotive Group dealership for allegedly selling used cars as new. This is the second suspension the dealership group has faced for the same issue. LaFontaine Chevrolet Buick GMC of St. Clair is alleged to have sold loaner vehicles with as many as 6,000 miles as new vehicles. Now, the mileage isn't what causes the problems here. We'll get there. The Michigan Department of State said that in a statement, and that Michigan law requires loaner vehicles that have been titled and registered to be sold as used. It's the fact that they were titled and registered. It can only be brand new once. After that, it becomes used. A spokesperson for LaFontaine in a statement described the violation as a clerical error and said the business immediately began working closely with state officials to review internal processes, correct documentation, and ensure full compliance moving forward. Well, here's the tricky part. In Michigan, to apply for a title and to get a registration, you fill out a thing called an RD-108, Michigan application for title. You can find the form online. And there are boxes to be checked on that form. And a box that says new or a box that says used, when you check one of those boxes, that becomes the issue. So, the dealership's license will remain suspended until it reaches an agreement with state regulators, according to a spokesperson from the Michigan Department of State. Regulators identified LaFontaine's latest alleged violations while checking its compliance under a 2024 agreement with the state for the same issue at a dealership in Livonia. LaFontaine Hyundai of Livonia shut down for one day back in December of 24 after the state suspended its license. Again, the allegation was misrepresenting vehicles as new, which were in fact used. The dealership agreed to pay a $25,000 financial penalty and complete a 24-month probation period in lieu of an administrative hearing. So they could have gone to a hearing and fought it out, but they chose not to. So the dealership in Livonia was required to participate in dealer training for managers and employees and was subject to periodic unannounced inspections by MDOS regulatory staff as part of that agreement. Regulators and the Michigan Automobile Dealers Association had previously issued bulletins reminding dealers what counts as used under the Michigan Vehicle Code. And the Michigan Vehicle Code is explicit. It has a definition for what a used vehicle is. I'll get to it in just a second. So the spokesperson said Michigan's vehicle titling laws are inconsistent with automaker guidelines, which he said allow dealer loaner vehicles to be sold as new. Now, why would the automakers get to decide what's new or used? What he's getting at is the fact that a warranty on a new car will follow the car if the car is sold early enough to its second owner. But the fact that it has a new car warranty on it doesn't make it new in the eyes of the state. It's a used vehicle. So he says Michigan's outdated titling laws still require such vehicles to be classified as used, even though they meet all qualifications for new vehicle incentives and warranties. They're still used. It's a used vehicle with an incentive and a warranty on it. As a result, these vehicles are sold to customers as titled used cars, despite being eligible for new vehicle benefits. A regulatory inconsistency unique to Michigan. Well, I got news for you. That inconsistency in Michigan goes back to 1951. So this is not a surprise to anybody. And when I read the story and I read that, my first thought was, it seems to me the Motor Vehicle Code, actually specifically, it's the Michigan Vehicle Code, specifically addresses the definition of a used or secondhand vehicle. And all you got to do is ask your counsel about that. So, again, the spokesperson continues, contrary to recent misleading statements from the Michigan Department of State, no fraudulent activity has occurred. Consumers have continued to benefit from lower-priced vehicles that remain eligible for new vehicle incentives and warranties under GM's approved programs. That's the end of the quote. Here's the deal. If I tell you I'm selling you a brand new car, there's a price you'll pay for it. If I say, oh, wait, car's used, everything else is the same, but it's going to be sold to you as a used car instead of a new car. You'll still pay the same price, though, right? Will you? I don't think so. Most people would go, wait, used? No, hang on. And by the way, if you look it up in a blue book, new versus used, are you telling me there's no difference in value? Because if there's a difference in value, you've got a problem. Now, whether you want to call it fraud, misrepresentation, whatever it might be, a Scrivener's error, it's still something that needs to be addressed because the law is quite clear on what a used vehicle is. So Michigan dealerships handle loaner vehicle sales differently. Suburban Mazda of Troy, for example, explains its policy on its website, saying the vehicle may be eligible for new vehicle incentives offered when sold as a retail sale or lease. Michigan regulations stipulate it must be sold as used. All documentation of the transaction must reflect that it is a used vehicle. It cannot be sold as new or demo once it has been titled to the dealership. The warranty start date is when the vehicle is placed into loaner service. Now, dealer lobbyists have been advocating for a change to Michigan's law for several years, and they've had good luck doing that, just changing words in the dictionary and so on. We'll get there. The executive vice president of the Michigan Automobile Dealers Association said, automakers encourage dealers to provide loaner vehicles while a car is being serviced and later incentivize dealers to sell those cars as new by offering new vehicle deals for loaner vehicles under certain mileage. So the association's goal is to allow loaner vehicles titled and registered by dealers to be sold as new if they fall under a certain mileage cap. Well, the tricky part here is you get around that by simply not titling the vehicle in the first place. Just, but here's the deal. So if you want to look this stuff up, it's in the blue books behind me, but you can find it all online. It's just the Michigan Compiled Laws, or MCL, and the motor vehicle section of it is in the vehicle code. 257.33A is the definition of a new motor vehicle. And it's defined as new motor vehicle means a motor vehicle which is not and has not been a demonstrator, executive or manufacturer's vehicle, leased vehicle, or a used or secondhand vehicle. So they're basically saying a vehicle can be new or used. Now you might say, but Steve, that's a bootstrap argument. You're saying it's not new if it's used, but what does used mean? Oh, we have a definition of that too. See, here's the thing. People often go find one definition in a definitional section and go, that doesn't help me any. Well, no, sometimes you need to read more than one. Because 257.78 defines used or secondhand vehicle. So that's the exact phraseology from 33A. New motor vehicle means a motor vehicle which is not and has not been, a used or secondhand vehicle. And used or secondhand vehicle is any motor vehicle to which a certificate of title and license plates have been issued and which motor vehicle has been registered for use on the highways by a consumer or by a dealer. And that law was enacted and became effective in 1951. 1951. That law was passed before I was born. That law has been in place my entire life, my entire career as an attorney, 34 years. And any attorney working in this field knows that this definition exists. So you got a new motor vehicle and you got a used or secondhand vehicle. And there's no question that if they title that, register it, and plate it, it becomes used or secondhand. And now here's the thing. Some people are going to say, Steve, but you do get what the dealerships are talking about, right? They've got this vehicle. They put a couple thousand miles on it, but it comes with all the brand new stuff. Yeah, it's a used vehicle with all the brand new stuff. Great. Now, here's the thing. They've been lobbying to change this because they've done that before. I've mentioned before that in Michigan, a car dealer can go to an auction and buy a former rental car. And then they can sell the car as a program vehicle. And when somebody comes back and goes, hey, I found out this car you just sold me was a former rental vehicle? You bought it at an auction of a rental vehicle fleet? and it's been beaten to death by renters? It has been. And you didn't disclose that to me. They say, oh no, we told you it was a program vehicle. A program vehicle. And you might go, what's a program vehicle? Oh, see, the car dealers back in 2003, probably in 2002, but the law went into effect in 2003. And I remember it vividly because I'm partly responsible for this law. And the reason is that there were dealerships buying former rental vehicles and then selling them and telling people, oh, it was a demo, it was a this, it was a that. And they'd make up excuses as to why the cars had mileage on them, but they'd want you to think that they were easy miles, not rental miles. And I filed a couple lawsuits against one dealership that was very well known, a large dealership. And apparently they had good connections with the lobbying groups who ran to Lansing and said, how about this? We'll call former rental vehicles program vehicles. And they got the legislature to pass a law that says MCL 233B. And then there's a definitional section. As used in this section, program vehicle means a motor vehicle from either the current model year or the immediately preceding model year that was repurchased by a manufacturer or distributor from a rental car company. Wait, what? Why? We can just now redefine words? We can just invent words? And they're saying, yeah. So when we tell somebody it's a program car, we're telling them it's a rental car. If they were to look it up in the blue books behind Steve, right? Except nobody expects that. They go here, they think it's a program car. They think like an executive car, a demo, a loaner. What's a program car? Who thinks you got to look the word program up in the law to find out what wacky definition the car dealerships got Lansing to agree to? But going forward from 2003 on, they can do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the lobbying groups go to the legislature and just go, we want to redefine the word new when it comes to brand new automobiles. We want it to include vehicles up to, say, 10,000 miles, as long as they still have the manufacturer's warranty available for them. And what will happen then is, and what's bizarre about this to me, is that dealerships are going to be in a really weird situation because you know that they often talk about blue book values of cars. And a blue book value of a car does talk about what its value is if it's used, or theoretically if it's new. It might not be in a blue book if it's new, but they do talk about the various ways that you value cars. How do you figure what a car is worth? And cars are worth more if they're new. So if I bring a car into a dealership after 6 months of ownership and I bought it brand new, and I say, I want to trade this thing in, and you go, well, here's what a used car is worth. I get to go, no, it's new. It's only 6 months old. And if it's under whatever mileage cap they set in Lansing, you could say it's new. You guys get to sell it as a new car. And there would be absurd results. And of course, the dealerships can go, no, it's used the second you drive it off the lot. Then once they get it in, they'll flip it and they'll sell it as new because it would be new under the definition of low mileage and a certain amount of time. And so I like the definition of the first time it gets titled converts it from new to used. That makes sense. But to say, oh no, we're going to go off so many miles, so many months, and outdated laws and stuff. Well, here's the argument against the outdated laws. Because the law was passed in 1951, and you might say, hey, Grandpa, that law is older than you, which I've already mentioned earlier. It's true, yes. It also means everybody in the industry is on notice of it. And the scary part is I actually knew an attorney who worked for this particular group for quite some time. And I have a sneaky feeling he's not there anymore. Because if he was, he would have pointed this out to him a long time ago and said, guys, it's new, then it becomes used. And once it's used, you can only sell it as used. Doesn't matter if it's got a new car warranty on it or not. But the point is, this group has been shut down once for only a day for doing this previously. And now a different store, and admittedly, St. Clair is a good distance from Livonia. These stores are far apart. But presumably there's some kind of umbrella organization over it that should be running it and telling them how to do things. So there you go. We'll see what happens. I suspect they'll get it fixed very, very quickly. But they're also going to probably run to Lansing and say, can we redefine new cars to include some used cars? The same way that we got the word program vehicle to mean rental vehicle. And some people right now are still going, wait, Steve, I don't get the rental vehicle versus program vehicle thing. They didn't redefine the word rental. Well, in a way they did, though, because when they sell you a program vehicle and you find out it was a rental, they go, oh, but you have to understand that's what program means. We told you it was a program vehicle. Program vehicle means rental vehicle. What part of that don't you understand? It's your vehicle. Get off our lot. So there you go. Summer Ballantyne wrote that for the Detroit News. Ryan, David, Nathan sent it. Michigan shuts down LaFontaine dealership, alleging it sold used cars as new. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. You want me to do something, just tell me I can't do it.